What's up, guys, and welcome to the Heroic Spoils of Pandaria Raid Guide. As always, if you want to see the normal mode guide where I cover the normal mode abilities, go ahead and check out the normal mode guide in the Siege of Orgrimmar playlist over on my YouTube channel. I also have all the other normal mode and heroic mode guides up to date that I have currently done. So, let's get right into this one. On heroic, this fight actually becomes a bit of a gear check, really. This fight is actually very, very good in heroic. I actually really enjoy this fight in heroic. It's the first heroic fight where I really feel like you really have to make progression. And by that I mean there's a lot of things that you have to do very, very quickly and very, very efficiently in heroic mode that differ from normal mode. The first thing that you need to understand is it's still the same aspect, still the same style of fight where you're opening boxes, trying to get to 50, and then getting both sides there at roughly the same time because you only have a certain amount of time to get your side done before everything explodes and you wipe. So what you're going to run into is figuring out kind of what comp you want on each side, what DPS classes you want on each side, and this is really where you're going to try to separate and make two extremely even teams, okay? And by even teams, I mean you need strong healers, you need strong DPS who can do very good cleave, you need great tanks who have the ability to not only pick everything up and open the boxes properly, but make sure that they're putting themselves in the correct position and that they're adding up the 50 total points that you need as well while pulling and while doing everything else. This fight actually has something for everybody, and it's really an amazing fight. Let's get into it. Also, the other thing that you need to understand is when you are on the Pandaren side, the Pandaren part of the room, not the Klaxi side of the room, we'll start there. So the Pandaren side of the room, what you need to understand is that the monks, the Mistweaver buff, you need to click that orb because that healing buff that you receive is huge. Not only do the healers then do a ton of damage over the course of the side of the room that you're on, but also if you position yourself right, it's doing a ton of healing with that wave as well as damage. So one of the biggest things you're going to realize is that the efficiency of keeping your DPS in between your healer and the mobs is really, really key. I can't stress to you enough how important that is. The biggest thing that you need to know about the Pandaren side also is the fact that the Brewmaster, you don't want to stack up for that because of his ability that he will do, which does splash damage and hurts everybody around you, so you need to spread out for that. And then once those are done, you can kind of position yourself better. The stone statues do need to be dropped extremely quickly. The more stone statues that are up, the more damage that's going out to the raid, and it becomes very detrimental very quickly. This is a big problem that you'll run into is, cycling healing cooldowns, especially if you don't get lucky and get that Mistweaver buff. You really do need to make sure that everybody's watching what they're doing, helping with personals, health stones, etc. during this phase. There's a ton of damage going out. The other thing that you do need to understand is, again, you're racing the clock, but the biggest other mobs that you're going to have to deal with are the golems, okay? So whenever a golem is out, you want to make sure that you're killing it ASAP. Tanks also, you have to kite this golem because if he stands in his red puddle that he leaves on the ground, he heals, and he heals a ton. And again, you do not want to get behind DPS in this fight. The reason being is if you're that timer is very, very stringent, especially if you're doing this in progression and your gear might not be as high as you would want it. Every little bit will help, and every little bit of efficiency will help here. Again, another thing for the tanks to deal with. The healers on the Pandaren side, really, if they can get that buff, positioning yourself to do the most damage and healing is, again, your biggest key in that phase, and that's really something that you have to pay attention to. DPS, as far as you need to know on this phase, again, try to position yourself correctly as well as burn everything down. You will need to soak the matter swap, so make sure you're getting into those red beams very, very quickly. The other ability that you have in heroic mode is once the other side kills and gets a point, you actually will get an unstable spark on your side. So what you need to understand is how these sparks work, and you need to make sure that you're switching to them and burning them down immediately. If the spark finishes its cast, which is non-interruptible, non-slowable, anything, when it finishes that cast, it will explode and it will destroy your raid. It will wipe you. You will die. So you need to be aware of that. That's the Pandaren side. On the Calaxy side, which is either the first or the second part, depending on which group you're in, there's a couple things that you need to know. On the Calaxy side, you're going to have white streaks that are very hard to see, of like white clouds on the ground. You need to not stand in those. They will pretty much three-shot you. They will tick you very, very hard. Pheromone circles, obviously we don't stand in those. Then there's a bunch of different ads. There's the Wind Wielder, there's the Priest. They can have their buffs spell stolen, dark simmed, whatever. You can get those buffs out of there, and it's very, very beneficial to your raid to have those buffs, especially if you can put a mage on each side and spell steal those buffs. You will notice a very nice increase in either your healing or DPS, depending on which one you're trying to steal. The other thing that you need to be aware of on these sides is that the Kunchongs do need to be burned down extremely efficiently. The reason being is because they do ticking damage while they are up, and again, if you're standing in anything at all, you're going to die by this. You just need to get these down to get the stress off of your healers. It is very, very key. The other thing that you need to know about while being on the Calaxy side is that you're going to have to deal with the bombs going off, okay? You get a 14-second countdown. Once that countdown goes off, you explode unless you pop, a personal soul, or you can drop the bombs off. So if you have an immunity like a priest or a mage, you can actually go ahead and you don't even have to drop any bombs. You can just go out and ice block, or go out and paint suppression, greater invis works. Any huge damage reduction cooling like that, you can live through it. Now, if you can't live through it, you want to set the bombs where you're not going to be, where you've already been. Not in the middle of the room, not where you're going to go. You want to make sure that you try to keep the tank's path as smooth and as efficient as possible, because again, this fight is all about getting those ads out just as quick as possible, efficiently as possible, while pushing the healers to the limits, pushing the DPS to the limits. And that's really the tank's job, is just to make sure that the DPS always have something to hit. Always, 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 that you're always pushing that clock, because you need every precious second. And then obviously keeping that in balance with how much can the healers heal. And that's where you're really going to run into the issues. Now again, you can see in this kill video both sides of how we did it. So I'm going to let this video run out. This is actually our kill attempt. There was other attempts where we did certain things a little bit better, a little bit worse, but this is the attempt that we actually killed it. So go ahead and take a look at how we handled the different mechanics. Hope you guys like this guide. As always, see you in the next one.